Alright, I think we're on. Are we on? There we go. Now we're actually on. Okay, so today is Big Kid Blocks. Obviously I've moved where I am. I went from being at home, or I went from being at work in the costume shop to being in my house. So things have changed a little bit. We're gonna see how this works. If you like anything, if you don't like anything, let me know. So today I'm working on a bigger body block than last time. So last time we were using the Costume Technician's Handbook. We were using this guy. Notice I've also managed to like flip you around so you see things right side up. So last time we were using the Costume Technician's Handbook block, and I was saying it's pretty good up to a size 14, 16. I'm usually an 18 and it starts falling apart. If you get up to a 22, it really falls apart. If it's anything bigger than that, and this is American sizing, if it's anything bigger than that, it's kind of you're just out of luck. But I have found that this book, Stays in Corsets, by Mandy Barrington. This is volume 2. There's also a volume 1. I got volume 1 first. It's around here somewhere. It is well loved, well used, very, 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 very folly party. She's from the UK, so this is all done in centimeters and metric. But once you do the conversions, you can either use the conversion sort of as is, or a lot of the conversions come out to like 0.9 and I'm just like an inch, or like 0.51 and I'm like half an inch. So a lot of times on my way through, sort of Americanize this as I go. If you do get volume 1 or volume 2, I suggest honestly that you go through, and you'll see sort of as we get there, that you go through, and I've just essentially written in all of my conversions so you can see kind of what it is instead of having to like stop and do it every freaking time. If you are an SCA person, if you're a medieval reenactor, I would say go for volume 2 rather than volume 1. All of the same drafting stuff is in there, but on volume 2, she gets you back far enough to the effigy bodies. These are the Dorothea Sabina ones. So if you're an SCA person, here's your justification. The other one I think starts later. It starts sort of cavalier. But this one is, you've got this, you've got another couple of like sort of vaguely cavalier, you've got a couple of sort of 1760s. You get into, I guess that's still 1760s. Good lord, 1760s. You go on forever. You get into 1830s. If you want like hard Regency, volume 1 would be better because it's got sort of the long-bodied bust cup Regency, but that pattern, I have never honestly successfully gotten that pattern to work because it has this sort of like curved seam in here that doesn't like me. Gonna move you guys down. Sorry about this great big post here. This is actually my tripod, so I can't do too much about where it is. Eventually I'll have the whole setup. That's what I'm hoping. But anyway, back to this. We've got 1830s, and then we get up into sort of like the normal kind of 1890s, like give you a pretty shape, and then a couple more like, give you a pretty shape corsets. So either way you go, like she's got good stuff in both books. I would say if you're SCA and you're interested in the Dorothea Sabina corset, go for volume 2. The fun thing with this book is that, and I know I'm sounding like I'm just selling her book at this point, but the fun thing with this book is that she's figured out a way to basically do a ratio of take your measurements, put it on use your body, take your measurements, do a body block, take it, and then she sort of like ratioed out like how much of the corset is each piece. So instead of just kind of the way you do with like a Nora Wall with like a corsets and crinolines, or like a Janet Arnold with the corsets, you kind of like blow it up and then hope. Or blow it up and then alter it before you even get to fitting someone. This gets you so much closer from the get-go because you actually pattern it to a person's size. But I've also found that her body block is, although it's a lot more involved to do, is a lot nicer for big people. And there's a couple, like 1 or 2 alterations that I've figured out that make it even better for big people. You have to fit it a little more because it's sort of not, I haven't gotten down to like the exact, this is exactly what I need to tweak, it'll give me what I want, but I've gotten sort of halfway to the, if I tweak this, it gets a heck of a lot closer. So, with that, let's get started. I got sort of 3 black pens I'm going to try to draft in. This one is a little more involved, so there may be a lot more of me scribbling out a line and being like, no, I didn't mean that. But then I've also done this one more than the other one, so we stand a chance. I'm going to start with my skinny Sharpie. If we get to the point where you're like, I can't see this, someone jump in and let me know, and I'll switch over. I'm going to try not to get to the Prismacolor because I know that it bleeds through. But we might do it in weird calligraphy pen. Why not? Okay, so first thing I figured I'd say before I got going on this is, you can sort of see here where she's got marked out, I hope you can see here, I'll try to pick it up a little more, what measurements you need. And she very nicely sort of shows you where it is here. I didn't get a mid-hip line on the measurements that I'm using, but give me a second and I can find it. The measurements I'm using I stole from one of our opera ladies. So she is a 51.5 inch bust, a 44 inch waist, and a 60.5 inch hip. I think she usually says she's in the 2022 range. So this will basically show, oh, it works pretty well. Let me grab that one measurement. Of course, it's on the notepad under my computer. Grab that one measurement that I needed. Where'd she go? Mid-hip. Oh, I didn't have a mid-hip on her. So you can see how my setup is set up here too. I didn't have a mid-hip on her, so we'll just kind of guess when we get there. And I've written basically all the measurements that I'm using out on a Post-it just so I know where it is. So here are her actual measurements, and then these are the halves. I know on the neck I'm going to need to do a 1/5 of that, but I haven't. I'll do that when I get there. I remember to have the calculator at this time. And I know the dart, since I made her a body block like this already, I know that the dart is 4.9 inches. And I'll show you sort of when we get there, I'll show you the math on doing that. I probably won't do the math, but I'll show you where it is in the book, because why do it more than once if I don't have to? All right, let's clear this out and get going. All right, where am I? You can see that this wants to open to the page that I've been using. So here she shows you, it's not corona, I promise, it's allergies. Here she shows you sort of standard dart sizes. So if you have a bust that is between 80 centimeters and 124, and 124 is bigger than you think it is. I don't remember exactly where I am, but I think 124 gets you into that 14-ish range most of the time. It'll tell you what the dart is that you want. Otherwise, when you get a couple of pages in here, there it is, it'll show you, like, here is the math on how to do the dart stuff. So that's how I've always figured it out. Okay, so this one's going to start very much like the other one. I'm hoping you can see this, maybe if I block off some of the outside light. The first thing we're going to do is make a square. So it's, again, A, B, C, D. And A to B, which is across the bottom and across the top, is half bust, which is 25.75 plus 2.5 centimeters, which is 0.9, so I tend to just go with 1. Because I am that kind of lazy and American, and giving myself a little extra that I have to take in later is always a hell of a lot easier than giving myself too little and then being like, oh, I have no way of letting it out. So, half bust measure plus 1. 25.75 is half of my bust, so I'm going 26.75. My ruler's not going to be quite long enough, so we're going to get creative. Not that creative. So there's 24, 25, 26, 75. And again, those of you watching, let me know if you can see the pen lines. Because I'm on Sharpie, and I don't know how well he's going to do. We may have to swap over. Sorry, my phone, which I'm using as the upper camera, just went, wait, I'm not playing anymore. Yeah, please do. Alright, so this is the bottom. This is going to be C, C over here in the corner. I just wrote CD like a genius. D. This isn't showing up at all. Let's swap pens. All right, calligraphy marker, your time to shine. And then I know I'm going up from there. So this is going to be A, B, C, D. Did my phone actually freeze? Phone, what are we doing? There we go. Okay, so this is going to be A, B, C, D. So then A to C, B to D is the nape to waist back measurement, which is basically nape here, that sort of like bony bit, to wherever your waist is. So nape to waist back plus 2.5, so basically that's 0.9 in American. So nape to waist back plus 1 plus waist to hip measure. So my nape to waist back is 15 plus 1 plus waist to hip measurement is 9. So I'm going up. That's not what I got last time. Do that again. Nape to waist measurement, 15 plus 1 plus 9 equals 25. Okay. So we're going up 25. I only got a 24-inch ruler, but we'll make it happen. Clearly, I need to Amazon a whole group of really thick Sharpies, so if I keep doing these, I can stop using whatever pen I've got. Alright. So this is eventually going to become B. Apologies if that's up so high you can't see it. I'll scoot you up when I start playing with it. And this one will go up for A. Up 25 for A. This is a 24-inch ruler, so I'm doing what I can. Alright, and then we'll join that corner all the way across. Maybe. I mean it. We really will. This one is a much more, I think I said this at the beginning, this is a much more involved body block. Why aren't you meeting? So this one generally takes me, if I'm not narrating it, about, I want to say about 45 minutes to do. We'll see if I'm lying. It may be that I'm lying and I'm going to get this done narrating it in 45 minutes. At work, usually I also have students coming up and going, "Where's the thread?" that I'm having to help too. This top line's a little janky, but will give us basically what we need. Alright, so there's A, B. So, if I rotate you just a little, you can see sort of what happened up there. So you got A, B, and I'm going to rotate you slightly back. So down here you got C, D. So basically here is center back, center back, center front. This is essentially the hip line, so this is sort of the bottom of a corset, and we'll draft from there. Alright, next page. Alright, so this one starts basically the same way the other one did. I'm going to rotate you again so you can see what's going on up in the A corner. So A to 1 is going to be over here, and it's 2.5 centimeters back neck point. Again, I'm American. 2.5 centimeters is 0.9, so I'm going with an inch. So there's your 1. 1 to 2 is your nape to waist measurement. So that's going to be 15 inches. So essentially, this is your nape, this is nape to waist, and then this is going to be nape or waist to hip. Square across from center back to center front, 2 to 3. So I'm going all the way across. I'll move you back down. Someday, my kingdom for a camera system. Alright, so there's 3. And that center back to center front, this is the waist. And then 1 to 4 is half of the measurement from 1 to 2. So that's 15 inches, so half should be 7.5 plus 1.3 centimeters. And that's 1.3 is basically 5.1, or 0.51, so that's a half an inch. So I'm basically going to 8, because half of 15 is 7.5, plus a half inch is 8. So our 2... or our 4, excuse me, gonna go there. Can I get you guys closer? I can, and then you have to stare at my wire. There we go. Okay, so, where was I? 4 to 5 is basically do that square across game again. You can see here where the square really comes in handy. 5 is directly under my tripod right now. It's the problem with drafting big patterns is they take up big space. 1 to 6 is half the measurement of 1 to 4, which should be 8. So we should be at 4. So there is our 6. And the 6 to 7, which I can see here, 6 to 7 scores sort of partway across. 6 to 7 scores across half across back. And your across back measurement is generally sort of armpit fat to armpit fat. It's kind of here to here. I generally refer to it as back yoke, if that helps anyone. Alright, moving the book. There's a constant game of move the book, figure out where you are, move the book, figure out where you are. So I'm going 6 to 7, half across back measure, which is 14, so I'm going 7 inches out here. Which makes sense because this is essentially our center back line, so I'm figuring out half of that. Half across back, yes, 7 inches. So there's 7. And then 1 to 8 is half across, there's half the measurement of 1 to 6 minus 0.75. It's really minus 2 centimeters, which is 0.78. So I consider it 0.75, again, because I'm American. So half of 4 is 2, minus 0.75 is 1.25, so there is our 8. Now, 8 to 9 is square across, half across back, so it's this same length, plus 1.5 centimeters, which is 0.59. So I generally do half an inch and a little, again, American. So 8 to 9. I want to use my square. Some of the last ones with the squares. Really handy. So that's 7 plus a half and a little. So we're going to wind up about here. And that is 9, 10. That's 9. That's 9. The way this one lays out here, that feels to me like there's a lot of jumping around. I've rewritten it in a way that like makes more sense to me, but like don't want to take away from the fact that like Mandy Barrington did a heck of a lot of work. So I tend to just do her instructions when I'm teaching and then use my own nonsense when I'm just doing it for myself. Okay. So that was 9. 7 to 10. 7 is going up to the shoulder line. And that point is your 10. 7 to 11, it's going down. So 7 to 11 is square to the bust line. So there's your 11. 4 to 12, now we're starting to play in the middle again. 4 to 12 is basically find over here. So it's half of the full cross. Which, can I remember what that is? It's 24... should be 26.75, which I'm not going to try to do in my head, divided by 2. So 13.3. So basically 13.25 plus a little, but then it's minus 1.3 centimeters, which is basically minus a half. So 13.25 minus a ½ inch, I'm going to say we are about here for 12. And then 12 to 13, we're squaring down. Maybe. So 13 is down on the very bottom, which you probably can't see. Doing like infinitesimal camera swaps. I need a whole film crew for this. Get on that, someone. So that's 13. 1 to 14, now we're coming back up here into the corner. So 1 to 14 is 1/5 of neck, which again I'm not going to try to do in my head. 1/5 of neck, my neck is 16 divided by 5, so 3.2. Or 3.25 because ruler. And then I'm going up, I believe it's a ½ inch. Yep, score up 1.3 centimeters, which is 0.51. Sometimes I actually score up, sometimes I just make the point. For the sake of everyone seeing sort of what's going on, I'll do the actual square. And then this, much like the last one we did, you connect with a little concave curve. As it says, connect with a deep concave curve. Trying not to drop my entire roll of paper off the edge of the table here. So there, essentially, is our neckline. And then 15 to 9, connect with a straight line. And you may be sort of seeing this shape now. This is becoming sort of back neck and shoulder. Oh, I almost made that connect. There we go, it's just an extra thick line. So 15 and 9, connect with a straight line, and then 11 to 16, draw a 2 centimeter line about 0.75, 3/4 of an inch, at a 45-degree angle to line 11 to 12. This is sort of an armhole guide. So 45-degree angle, 11 to 12 is here, and that's 16. And you can see sort of the way I cheat 45 is I can see these squares marked out in my ruler, and as long as I've got sort of one corner and the other corner sitting on that baseline, that's essentially 45. And then we fill in the armhole. Go away, ruler. Not right now. And we draw in the armhole curve. If you don't have a French curve, highly recommend. These things are great for not having to try to accurately freehand armhole curves. And then this, a lot of times, sort of wants to dip down under a little. So most of the time I'll let it do that. Sometimes I'll sort of force it to end there. We'll get back to 12 and you can sort of see how it wants to work out. So, beginning of female body block, back. Moving on. Basic block, front, neck, and shoulder. All right, let me move you over here and make sure you can see the entire front bit now. Slight lag on everything as I try to get you back into a place that makes sense. Does that make sense? That kind of makes sense. Again, you're staring sort of through my tripod at me, but such is life. Such is life. All right, so over here, we start with 5 to 17. So here is your 5. 17 is going to come up from that, and that's 1/10 nape to waist back. So that's essentially between 1 and 2, but I also have it written down. So 1/10 nape to waist should be 1.5. Yep. So 1.5. There's my 17. B to 8. So this is where we're going to start sort of blocking in the back or the front neck. So 1/5 neck measure minus 0.7. So that 1/5 again, 1/5 neck, 16 divided by 5 equals 3.2 minus 0.7 centimeters, which is 0.2, which is essentially 3. Coming over here, ruler plus computer equals exciting. That's 18. Yes, 18 is the top line. So there's our 18. And then B to 19 is 1/5 neck measure plus 3 centimeters. So 3 centimeters is basically 1.18 inches. Because we're coming down 4.38, so sort of 4.4. So I'm going to go just shy of 4.5. And there's our 19. And then we're connecting those two. So 18 and 19 connect. And then B to 20 is, again, draw a line at a 45-degree angle to line B18 to meet line 18-19. So B18, we're doing another 45. Sort of out of that corner. Sometimes it takes me a minute to get my brain and the ruler to play together. So we're going there, and that gives us 20. And then I know that 21, since I've done this pattern a couple times, is a 1/2 inch beyond that, so I tend to just mark it while I'm there. So 20, 21, and then you connect 18, 21, and 19 with a curve to give you your front neckline. So front neckline, ta-da! All right, so 18 to 22 is our shoulder length. 15 to 9, so we're taking it off the front again because we've got it already, minus 0.23, so basically minus 1/4 of an inch. Here's where I start differing from what she does, because if you do this the way she wants, you get sort of classic fat kid, body block doesn't work problems, because for some reason, when you try to do a fat kid body block, it squishes the arms, so it squishes the arms eye in. It basically drops this line that is your shoulder like way down here, so you get this sort of like little bizarrely curved arms eye that doesn't work. So instead of doing that, I sort of looked at this pattern and said, well, if this is my shoulder line and this is where the front end, or this is where the back ends, why the hay isn't the front ending at that line too? So here's where we sort of differ, in that I continue the line between 8 to 10 to 9, sort of all the way over into the front, like that. And then, sort of, if you watch the smaller lady body block, I do a similar thing to what that one does, where I take my ruler then and put the size that I need from 18 and then make the end hit this line, so the two shoulders are essentially the same slope. So shoulder length 15 to 9 over here is 4 3/4 minus 0.23, so it's going to be 4.5, which is pretty average for a human. That doesn't sound bad to me. So I'm going to basically take 18, put 4.5 here, and then slope this down just like that. And this point that you want to get here, oh, but I forgot to put the dart size in, so I need to do, this is for the first line you're going to get that I scribble out. So it's actually this plus, since we're putting a dart in up here, it's this shoulder length plus the dart. So it's actually 4.5 plus 4.9, so I actually come out at like 8 something. $9.4. So I'm actually going to come out 9.4, which that looks a lot more normal to me. I was kind of looking at it and going, that looks very small. Trust that intuition. Sometimes it comes in handy. So what she wants you to do is basically measure out shoulder length and drop something that sort of is supposed to show you the slope. But if I measure out shoulder length and then drop the one that's supposed to show you a slope, this literally winds up down here. And you can sort of see how that's going to give us like this gigantic dart with this like very small, because if this is where I'm supposed to like draw the armhole in, it's like that armhole ain't never going to fit a big fat girl arm. Like, everyone's got some hello Helens in here. Which is why I started just sort of continuing that line and, like, figuring it out from there. This does take a little more, sometimes a little more fitting sort of through the shoulder, but that's so much easier than trying to, like, put an armhole on someone that doesn't actually fit. Okay, so now we've got that line in here, and I've skipped a couple of things in here. So I've skipped 22 and the 23 that she wants, and this is actually her point 24. So 22 and 23 don't exist, which doesn't really affect us in the long run. You just have to sort of remember that 22 and 23 don't actually exist. Alright, so this is shoulder length plus dart size. This is a junk line, which I'll sort of scribble out because it's a junk line. I knew there'd be at least one. It's going to do something wrong. And then we move down here and continue on through. So from 5 to 25 is half point to point. So point to point, putting it the tacky way, is nipple to nipple. So I know my point to point on her is 10, so half point to point is 5. So there is our 5, and that is 25. And then I'm supposed to square, I believe, up and down. Yep, score up to the shoulder line, score down to the waistline and hip line. So 25 going up will give us 26. So right here will be 26. And squaring down will give us, I think, 27 and 28. Yes, 25 to 27. So 27 will hit the waist. And then 28 will continue all the way down and be down way off where you can't see anymore on the waist. All right, let's see if I can get you guys sort of back where I started so we can see the whole thing. This is this game because there's a lag of, like, adjust the camera and kind of hope. Trying to get you a little closer to the top because I know the next thing we're going to do is all the dart nonsense. And boy, is there some dart nonsense in here. You can draft without the darts, but then that takes some fitting. It's exciting. Alright, so we've done basic block, front, neck, and shoulder. So we basically have back, neck, and shoulder, front, neck, and shoulder. Basic block, front, bust, dart, and armhole. So all of this was pretty easy because there's not a boob in there that you have to deal with. Now that we're having to start dealing with boobs, things are going to get a little more exciting. There's just going to be a wire in there. Apologies. Not a professional! At least not a professional videographer. Alright, so let's start putting in, this is going to have a dart that basically drops from the shoulder, and then there's another one that sort of meets it. This is a really easy pattern to take into princess scenes if you want to. Alright, so 25 to 29 is going to be 2.5 centimeters, 0.9 inches. I'm going to call it 1 because I'm an American. And then 26 to 30, which I always have to stop and be like, where am I going? 26 is up at the top. 26 to 30 is 0.7. I generally just make that 0.75. Again, American. Alright, so what we just did here was drop the point off actual point. Well, we dropped the point because I think our actual point is closer down in here. And like I was saying on the skinny girl one, you never want to put your dart all the way to your nipple, all the way to the fullest part of your bust, because if you do that, you get these weird sort of like competing fabric wrinkled nipple things that like no one wants. So this is, we're dropping this here, and then I think our actual fullest point is somewhere down in here, but you never put this sort of directly on that. Alright, and then as I remember correctly, we connect 30 and 29. So this is the inside side of our bust dart from the shoulder starting. So 29 to 30, and then 30 to 31 is bust dart size, which is 4.9 inches. So essentially almost 5, and this looks enormous, but this is, I have seen this woman in person, whose measurements I'm working from, and she has a pretty significant bust. And this is 31. And then I want to measure line 30 through 29, so measuring 30 through 29, and then sort of transferring it over to 3129. So 3029 is 9, basically 9 1/4 and a little. So then I want to turn it this way and get that same 9 1/4 and a little. And it's not going to quite hit 31, but that's okay. Because this then, you actually mark as 32. If you're working on someone on this draft that doesn't have a bust this size, this will sort of come up here and you'll wind up doing sort of a triangle-y hatty thing in this. Since this generally drops here, I don't worry about it. I will generally go back in and sort of correct this at the end as I cut it out so that this line stays basically the same. You can also do sort of a cheaty thing where you sort of find this and come down here once you get the length between 32 and 24, because this is becoming kind of a weird shape on a shoulder, but it gets you a lot closer than some of the skinny girl body blocks. I'm still working out all of the kinks and taking this up to fat kid, but we're closer than we have been. All right, and now I go through and sort of see like what doesn't work, because you can sort of see here that what she wants you to do is sort of do this jog up, but because of how my body block is positioned, because of how my dart works, because the bust is so big, there's kind of no point to me doing that. So I sort of jog her around it a little bit and kind of go da 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 da. There's this and this connects and like everything is happy. So I believe from here usually what I do. It's been a hot second since I did this one. Let me read the book. Yeah, so usually basically it tries to correct in here so that these angles match. Since I've got this weird drop, there's no good way to do that. I usually just sort of even it out at the end of things. So I'll just sort of connect 24 and 32 and be like, that's where we're starting at least. All right, and then we come down here. Now we've got the dart sort of in, so you can see all of this winds up being bust dart. Come on, pen, I believe in you. All of that winds up being bust dart. Then we can start working on getting sort of the rest of the arm's eye in here. So, 17, which is here, to 36 is square across from point 17 to the dart to find points 36 and 37. So basically you're drawing a line from 17 that comes over here. It says 36 and 37. And I a lot of times will sort of draw a half line, because the next thing you're going to do is find a point out here that is 38. So 36 is this guy, 36, and 37 is this guy. Right there. And then 17 to 38, and 38 is going to be our one that hovers over here. 17 to 38 is the half across chest measurement. So we're going basically across here, plus the measurement between the points, so that we've got enough fabric to come all the way around here and not suddenly be off like 1.5 inches in the dart. So my half across chest is 8, and I want to add 1.5 inches. So I'm going 9.5 from 17 to get to 38. Oh my god, I did it in the first try without even trying. And then this one will square up and down too. Well, at least it'll at least square down to become 39. And then we'll do that same 45 angle out from here to get 40, because we're starting to get the bottom of the armpit again. So there's your 40. And then it's a big old game of connect the dots. So we go from 24 to 38. From 38 to 40. And sometimes when they're weird like this, I just kind of freehand them. And then go back in and sort of say, what makes the most sense for you? Some of this is do it enough and you'll learn to sort of see where the weirdness is going to be. But that's pretty good. And this is actually like a marked improvement over where most fat kid body blocks wind up, because this point is usually dropped out here, and you can see that, like, sort of if that's where my arm's eye is, you look at that and you're like, ain't no way I'm getting a fat girl arm through there. Like, it's not gonna happen. Which is why I just started extending this over and being like, it's gonna take a little sort of post-production in this area to get it functioning, but I'll get this one all the way there, cut it out, sort of show you what I do to true it up. Just so you can be like, you can't be like, she left us hanging. Alright, so let's turn the page, let's take a drink of water so I don't die. And let's get on with some waist darts. So we're moving back over to the back here. Let me move you closer again. Is that where I want you? Come on, computer lag. Yep, and there's a cord there. Enjoy my high tech here. Okay, so on our back, we're gonna start putting in our waist darts. So at this point, we're looking at essentially bust line, waistline, hip line down here. So for this guy to 41 is half of the measurement from 4 to 11, which is 7, so we should be at 3.5. So there's our 41, and I'm going to square this down all the way. And you can see at a certain point I just stop using the square and start trusting my lines. Alright, so this is then 42, and this guy is 43. Alright, and then 42 to 44 is 2/3 of the measurement from 2 to C, from waist to hip, which is 8.75. 8.75 divided by 3 equals times 2 equals 5.8. So this is 2/3 of the measurement down this way, so 5.8, just slightly over 5.75, and that is 44. 44? 44. And then 42 to 45, so 42 to 45 is a centimeter, so 0.3, I generally consider it 0.2, so this is a 1/2 inch dart. So there's 45. 45. And then 42 to 46 is also 1 centimeter, 0.3. I generally, again, consider it 0.25, which I just put in the wrong place. 46. So then, this entire thing, 45 to 46 with 42 in the middle, is a 1/2 inch back dart. It's just enough to give a little bit of shape. And then connect 41 and 45. 41 to 45, and then 45 to 44. And then connect 41 to 46. And 46 to 44. And then I tend to scribble this in and be like, you cutting this out. This is your dart. So there is your back dart. Da-da-da-da-da-da, back dart. Alright, I'm going to move you over and let's do a front dart. So front, did I get you there? You're still staring at a wire. Apologies. Just get a longer wire. Things to aspire to. Alright, are we there? There we are. Okay, so here we're going 29 to 47, which is going to come down this way, is 3 centimeters, which is basically 1.18 inches, so I kind of just do 1 inch and like halfway between 1 inch and 1.25 inches. So 47 is there. And like I said on the last one, this is that dead space where your bust point actually goes. This is where your nipple is. Or this is where your nipple should be, according to measurements and the draft. 27 to 48. 27 to 48 is 1/3 measurement, waist to hip. So here on this side it's D to 3. On the other side it's C to 2, which I should have here. So that is 8.75. 8.75 divided by, and that's 1/3 divided by 3, And that's 2.91, so basically almost 3. And that was 48. And then since this line exists already, since we drew it in, that's actually your center dart on this side, which makes the rest of this real easy. Because 27 to 49 is 1.5 centimeters, or basically half an inch. It's 0.59 in American, so it's like 0.6. And that's 49 goes one way, 50 goes the other way, and they're the same measurement, which I love. So 0.59, a little over 0.5. And 0.59, a little over 0.5. And then 47 to, this is actually, I suppose I should write the numbers in, 49 and 50. So then we do 47 to 50 to 48. To 48. And 47 to 49. To 48. And there you have that line. You can almost see that. I can almost see that line. And there you have your front dart. So, I think I said in the last one, I'm a dart cutter, so I will cut this out when I get to actually using it as a pattern. Okay, before we run away from here, on this page, they give us the waist distribution calculation. You kind of look at that and you're like, well, I didn't need this over here. But haha, surprise, you'll need it over here. Because you have to do the waist distribution and the hip distribution to sort of get the side seams in correctly. So let's pause for a second and do that. This is where I generally write mine up here, just because this is an armpit. Ain't going, like, I'm going to cut it out, ain't going anywhere. Alright, so our waist distribution for the next step is half waist measurement, so 25.75. 25.75. Plus ease of basically an inch, divided by 2. So we're doing 26.75 divided by 2. Which is 13.375. I'm going to call it 13.38. And then we basically take a half inch off one and add a half inch onto the other. So we're sort of like shuffling kind of where the waist is. So the back waist is 13.38. 13.38. Minus a half an inch, and the front is 13.38 plus a half an inch. So minus 0.5, 12.875, and plus is 13.875. So, then, is that right? Yeah, that seems right. Okay, so then we're going to come over here. We're going to start playing with our center. So this is that line. You can sort of see armpit and armpit. So this is your side seam in here. We're about to sort of shape it to fit better. So 2 to 51. Where's my 2? 2, which is way over here, to 51. Is back waist calculation, so this guy, plus 0.7 for back dart, which really, my back dart is only 0.5, so I will swap it up that way. So that's 12.875 plus 0.5, which means that my back width here should be, nope, that's wrong. Did I do this backwards again? So back waist should be 12.88 minus the dart. No, plus the dart. Ah, that's right. This is where the big girl stuff starts differing. So if you look at the book pictures too much, that's what gets you. Because on this one, she is, in the book, this is a less voluptuous woman, and so her side seam comes in this way. Since I'm dealing with a more voluptuous woman, her side seam will actually come out this way because bust on her, I think, is actually smaller than waist. Things you have to remember when you're drafting for big people. If you've seen the body, it helps. Alright, so 2 to... Where did she go? 2 to 51 is 12.88 that we just found. 12.88 plus 0.5 for the back dart. So she is 13.38. And that is 0.51. And then our front waist is 13.88 plus that dart, which is usually around an inch. We'll call it 1.25. 15.13. So just over 15. And that is 52. And you can see here, basically, if these were swapped, this is what the smaller person would look like. But in reality, this belongs to this block, and the 51 belongs to this half of the block. So connect with a straight line. So 12 to 52, 12 to 51. And it's important as we get through this part, as we cut out, that you sort of remember which way it's going. If I were to actually cut anything but the shoulder on this one out, I'd have to transfer part of it over to another piece because we're overlapping now. A lot of times on these you'll overlap some just down at the bottom, but since so much of this is overlapping and this is probably going to continue on out this way, you want to make sure that you trace either your back or your front onto a different piece of paper before you keep going, before you cut. Alright, then the hip distribution. We're basically going to play the same game again with a different set of math. So half hip measurement plus ease divided by 2. So my half hip is 30.25 plus basically an inch divided by 2. So 31.25 divided by 2. Whoop, 31 calculator. Is 15.63. I could not write 16. That would be delightful and not throw me off the rest of the way. Alright, so 15.63. And then 15.63 for our back is 15.63 minus 0.5. So back is 15.13 and front is same thing but plus that 0.5. We're basically just like moving from place to place, which is 16.13. So since this is the hip, I'm going to be working way down on the bottom line. We'll try to get you down there. So our back is 13. So yep, this is going to do what I thought it was. So 15.13 on our back is out here, and that is 0.53. And front, 1613. So 16.13 is going to be over here, and that is 0.54. And basically, that's it. So that you then would connect 51 to 54. 51 to 50? No, 52 to 54. And 51 to 53. And so you can see that in reality, this shape is your back because she doesn't change much through the waist. She kind of just keeps going down towards the hip. And this is your front. So come through here and come down that way. So this is really sort of there's not a good place to draw, but this is really in the shape going to be, can I do a speed drawing? So shape-wise, this is going to be sort of this shape with darts to fit that come in this way on the front. And then on the back, it will be basically only the back dart sort of up from the waist here. If that makes sense. If you can see that, like, tiny little drawing on a tiny little camera. Okay, so let me grab some scissors and cut the top half of this free. If you have any questions, if you've been watching the whole time, feel free to hit me. Obviously, there are times that I still have to stop and go, wait, what the heck am I doing? Come here, scissors, scissors, scissors. I just had you. What happens? You put too much stuff down on top of too much other stuff. Alright. So at this point, I'm going to pretend essentially that I have traced my back off somewhere else because its back shoulder is not too bad. I'm going to cut my front out. So I can show you kind of how I deal with this shouldery necky nonsense. So I will generally cut my armhole out because my arm's eye isn't going to change too much. Alright, so I'll cut this out. I'll come in here and I'll cut the neck out. And then I'll find that 30 to 29, 32 to 29, and cut that out before I cut any of the top sort of actual shoulder seam apart. And I've left way too much out here, but such is life. Alright. And then I'll come in here, and I cheat. I cheat like a mofo because it's easiest. So I'll come in here and sort of pull that dart together and look at where is my actual top line sitting. So this is my, this guy is my actual, I'm going to try to highlight it. This is the actual top line of my garment. So that's my shoulder line. So the way I cheat, because you can see if this was my shoulder line and I did this, I'd have this weird sort of peaky, like Lady Gaga thing going on. So the way I cheat this is I just continue that line. And it does cut down a little bit on your arm's eye. If you think that that's going to sort of affect what you're doing, I look at sort of how much came off here, and a lot of times I'll kind of drop it out of here because I've taken about an inch of height out of the arm's eye. So if I want to like sort of re-add that back in, I'll come back down here and change that. Then you have to change your back arm's eye too. A lot of times I won't bother with doing this alteration until I get into a fitting, because more often than not, I found that as I do this is just sort of, instead of giving you a little like flappy do here, it's just sort of pulling it down to fit more. So I tend to just leave that. I tend to leave this in. I keep trying to just pull the cap off the other end of this double-sided pen to like recap the one I got. But then, once you sort of correct that line, you wind up with sort of an amazingly functional body block. I would cut this out if I was actually doing this. There is no sort of ideal way to cut this out. These are always rough because you've got little points that make little points, and you either have to sort of get in backwards or sort of cut kind of off direction, which like I hate. I'm very right-handed. This feels very strange. So cut that out. Obviously, you do the same thing on the back, so that you would cut that sort of, that middle dart in the back out. Cut your bottom off. Don't leave that there accidentally, because then all of a sudden it's way too long. And there you can see, finished, or finished enough body block. This will hopefully be going up on YouTube. I've just about hit an hour, so I don't know if YouTube will let me do it, because YouTube. Hopefully this will be going up on YouTube. I'm going to try to do a Medieval Tailor's Apprentice sleeve next, which should be a lot faster. I don't know when that will be, but feel free to follow me on YouTube and on Facebook. I'm Tika England. On Instagram, I'm at Customer Support Department, DEPT. And if you have any requests, let me know. If there's a way to get you closer next time, I will try to do that. It's rough trying to cover both, like, the grand scale of what I'm doing and, like, this tiny little thing without giving you all vertigo. Try to move the phone camera around. So, thank you for watching. Feel free to leave me feedback. Feel free to leave me, like, money for better cameras. Not really. Feel free to leave me sort of anything that you want to say. I'm glad to hear it, and I'll see you all next time.